It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Obiajilu Ugo.
Hi, ladies.
How are you doing?
Amazing. And you're rocking House of BC
Yes,
shirt.
I am.
Thank you
Yes,
so
my Nigerian
much.
t-shirt. Thank you so much. Lovely.
I'm so happy. They say when friends and family pay for market, your business grows. And I'm happy that you guys are very supportive. All of you buy something.
It's a lovely shirt. I've been trying to wear it, but I didn't know how to match it. And I got this green pants. Like, yeah, I'm going to wear it.
Yeah. So what I like about I think the entire Adire collection, the T-shirts, the corporate shirts, they are all just so amazing. It's a comfy way to rock our native designs.
Yeah. I love it.
How are you doing, though?
Nice. Hey, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm just getting ready. I have a party that I'm planning.
Yeah.
Celebrating my son.
Shutting down Lagos.
Yeah, so I'm still waiting for his outfit to arrive.
It's from the abroad.
That's my son. Please.
It's our one and only
boy. Except I have another boy. You know, but that's what's happening. So looking forward to it.
That's good. Good. How are you doing? It's been a while we've seen you on the show.
Yeah, I was in Obumoso for most of last week.
Yes.
And it was the burial of Otuba Christopher Alawakala. I've heard this. I heard that name over and over and over again because everybody was just all over. It was a carnival. It was the passing of a great man. And it's one of the things I'll say. I'll talk about my own personal because I couldn't get to give tribute. There were so many people giving tribute. My own tribute was the first time I met my children. My son sat on his leg almost all through, and the next time he saw me, he knew all my 3 kids' names. And every time he'd be like, "How is Samuel?" He's such an amazing connecting person, and you can always say that with everybody that came across him. They would say he connected with them. Aside politics, he was a very good man, and I'm grateful to God that he got the kind of burial he would deserve. I'm sure he would have been smiling because people loved him and they showed up for him. It was a massive success. We thank God.
I saw some of the clips. Quite massive.
I was looking for it. I didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe I was surprised. I was waiting for you. I was on your page.
The governor was there, the VP was there. Everybody was just like, this man is a great man. We need to show up for him. And I think that's a good way to go.
What a legacy.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Chic. Looking so hot.
Thank you. I see we're
I hope you have
together.
something important to go today. Please don't tell me you're going home after this.
Because
Well, now that you have
somewhere.
talked about it, I finally got my approval from Lagos State. Thank you. Now, there are 2 approvals. There's a mini and then there's a major, just so we know. The mini happens every year, the major every 3 years. So we'll go for the major, but the mini,
break down
I got it.
what this mini one means.
Your books
she'll
will
tell
be
you as only as much as she wants to tell you.
Anyway,
the
the major is that your book is on a book list. There's a Lagos book list, and that is the one that Lagos has approved. But this one also means that Lagos has given it approval, but it's not on the book list yet because there's a time for that one, and we'll get it there. I'm also happy with the feedback from the curriculum department. They're very impressed with the book. They love the message and everything. And so
please,
very soon,
if we buy now to support, can we distribute to schools now?
Yes. So very soon, books will be out in a few days. Actually, the books will be physically here. And all the people have been seeing your messages asking when the bookstores and everything will be out in a few days. Fantastic.
So today is the 70th birthday anniversary of Alaja Fatima Ajibike Adegunwa. And they're the owners of Biggie Drinks.
Yeah.
So those Biggie Drinks. So it's a huge party today. Happy birthday to Alaja. It's been 70 today. Many happy returns. You live long and in good health, joy, happiness, and peace. And we wish you a very good celebration today.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday, ma.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with The Nation. 2023 President APC zoning tilts tickets in South's favor. Lawmakers vote on constitution review next week. Britannia U kicks as consortium blames it for toxic petrol. Ex-minister others get 6 years jail term for 450 million naira bribe. Balogun to be installed Olubadan March 11th. And Jonathan keeps mum on the 2023 speculated interest. Okay.
Then we take the Federal High Court has, that's in Jos Plateau State, has sentenced a former Minister for Water Resources, Sarah Ochepe, to 6 years imprisonment for money laundering. She and 2 others, and they are Evangelist Leo Sunday Jitong, who was the campaign coordinator for the state. That's for during Jonathan's administration, and also a former Plateau State acting chairman of the PDP party. So the story is that they got a 450 million naira that they received from the former Minister for Petroleum, Mrs. Deziani Alison Madueke, to finance the re-election of the former President Goodluck Jonathan. And EFCC, you know, took up this case because, one, they said that they knowingly received money they knew was above the threshold for that particular, the minister that gave it to them. That's one. So they knew it was corrupt. It was sourced by corruption. That amount of money was sourced by corruption, and they received it. And for the sentence, there were 3 counts, but they were sentenced for receiving the amount, for knowing that it was sourced by corruption, but they were let go on the fact that they kept the money because they said that they handed over the money to a late Senator Pajok, even though there's nothing to show that they handed over that money. But, you know, so they got 6 years, but that's 3 years for each offense, or fine of 2 million naira each. So now I know that once sentencing is done, we'll find out if they give the fine or if they go to prison for 6 years each.
It just feels very small for the fine is so
for
small
the amount of money
that was stolen. Yeah.
Okay, another story.
So 4 companies involved in the importation of premium motor spirits, that's the PMS known as petrol, yesterday said they did not test for methanol. They said the specifications were given to them by Standards Organization of Nigeria and did not include testing for methanol. So the consortium we're blaming the Britannia U. That's the company that brought in the adulterated petrol. And Britannia U is denying the importing toxic petrol, saying that they had a standard that they had to follow, which met with the Nigerian specification, and that did not include testing for methanol. So it's left for the SON that gives that standard to improve on their standard so that they can test for every other thing that they're supposed to test for. That this was just in line, that nobody would tell them how to raise their standards if it's in line with what happens outside the country.
And that was doing the grilling by the House of Reps, and they also grilled MRS too. MRS was insisting, that one said, we did not in any way bring in any adulterated petrol, and that they also went through the proper standards. So it was now zeroed down to Britannia because under the consortium, the Britannia is one of the members of the consortium. Yeah. So all of them are saying, "Auntie, this is you that brought it in. This one, yes, I brought it in, but ethanol was not part of it.
So that means that they have to raise the standard of checking.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's take APC. We're talking about APC. We try to avoid these political stories, but at least what we know now is that, remember, there was a high-power meeting on Monday where the governors met to agree that they will move their convention to the 26th, and then there'll be a zonal convention across the country. Okay, so there was another meeting with the president yesterday where they then finally agreed on zoning. So what they did in a nutshell is the northern zones will take the positions that the southern zones took in the last 8 years, and they swapped it. That's pretty much what happened. Okay. So, but now what that means is they are going to focus now on the zoning, but there's a possibility that now that the chairman is from the northern side, it's possible that the presidency may likely come from the southern side. It's not specific which part of the south here, but we'll wait for their convention to come up.
Let me, still on the political area, let me talk about Jonathan. Former President Goodluck Jonathan was speaking on the sidelines of the ECOWAS meeting. It's a 2-day retreat, Council of the Wise, and former President,
Council of the Wise.
Yes, okay. Former President Goodluck Jonathan was the chairman of that Council of the Wise meeting. It's a 2-day strategy session. The target is to sort of like plan for ECOWAS safety, regulation, increased relationships. But they questioned him concerning presidential bid, and he was quiet. His spokesperson was, the media innocent, said they shouldn't ask any question that is not regarding ECOWAS. Exactly. But he was willing to answer, and he told them that many people were scared in the last election, in the 2015 election, that some people even took their children abroad thinking Nigeria will implode.
Stabilize.
He said Nigeria will not implode. The elections will be safe. It will be a free and fair election, and Nigeria will survive 2023, and that people should not overreact. Nigeria will remain safe even after the election. That's his belief.
Was
and
he talking from inspiration?
It's not maybe from the fact that he experienced the same thing. So
Yes.
everybody thought that 2015 was going to, even the president,
he's
even
a
America,
different breed.
even the America of America
See, he's
said
a
that
different breed.
2015 was going to
Also,
damage
That's
Nigeria.
we have
he
to-
decided to step down. We don't know the caliber.
Nigeria is
There's
going
just
to be
too
working
much to
remain.
lose if that happens.
All right, let's
for
move
all
on
of
to the
us.
punch.
We'll work out our issues.
March 26th convention, I think I talked about that already. Let's find another story. Cops angry as surgeon dies while opening gates for ex-governor Daniel's driver. Hoodlums attack Ugo filling station, kill 2 guards. Delay in electoral bill assent will affect preparations for 2023 polls, says CSO. Diazani 450 million naira fraud, ex-minister jailed for 3 months, gets 1 million naira fine option. Court okays Kyari, 6 others detention for 14 more days. Lagos protest, no evil must befall Aregbe Shola Kingsmill 1. FG begins probe of airlines over alleged collusion of fixed airfares. NLC, IG disagree over police exemption from the 13.42 trillion pension scheme. And senators reps to vote on constitutional amendment next week. Okay.
So, delay in electoral bill assent will affect preparations for 2023. The coalition of civil society organizations have asked the president to, as a matter of urgency, assent to the electoral bill. I think the Executive Director, Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, says it best when he said that if the president, he said the president must assent to the bill before the end of the day. That was Tuesday yesterday, to avoid legal consequences regarding its usage for 2023 polls. He added that the president had issues with the provision in the electoral bill, that if he had issues with it, he should forward a proposed amendment, to those clauses. He says, we are mindful of the implication of the clause 28 of the Electoral Bill 2022, which provides that INEC will issue notice of election in 360 days to the 2023 elections to avert legal complication. So that's why the president needs to do something quickly, because there is a time, it's time constraints on that. So many other people spoke, and they said that for 5 times this bill had been sent to him and he hasn't done anything about it. And every time it's sent back to the National Assembly, they add one more clause. He needs to do something quickly, to make sure that 2023 goes on well.
So they say the ports is going to be congested even further. So there's withdrawal of services by clearing agents at both the Terminal Ports and Terminal Multipurpose Limited and Tinkan Island Ports in Lagos, and that because those people have withdrawn their services, we are expecting a shipment into the country carrying over 8,000 vehicles that will be berthing between Monday and today, Wednesday, and they are saying there will be congestion because the capacity of the port itself is just barely 4,000, and we're expecting 8,000 vehicles. People that should do the processing are not on ground. And we know what the problem is. The plan should be to prevent it, not for us to just report it. So I was reading through the article looking for
response.
Where would they said the clearing agents are protesting. Answer them. There are so many people protesting, many things not working. Well. It's just an operational issue. Resolve the issue before we now start discussing another strike happening.
Okay, let me take the story of the constitutional review. So if you remember last year, many of the senators went across the country having meetings, and they had the task of seeing how we can review the Constitution, and they went out to the Nigerian public to have a conversation with Nigerians. Anyway, they finally come up with the report. Now, this report is being presented to the House today, Wednesday. And the idea is that they're submitting it to the members of the House, the senators, and they're asking them to go and read it well because they're going to cast votes. In fact, the Senate President said, please read it thoroughly and please attend the plenary next week, March 1st, because there's going to be a 2/3 vote. And if you're not present, you wouldn't get to vote. So it's important that our lawmakers are available March 1st at the plenary to vote on this constitutional review that Nigerians have been clamoring for. We don't want to see an empty hall. Let us be there and then vote and let us know who is voting for what.
Yes.
It's very important. Okay. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have one more story in Punch. Yes, BC.
Yes, so 2 policemen were killed at Isu Divisional Police Headquarters in Imo State, where a gang of men suspected, according to the story, they said suspected to be IPOB members, engaged the police in a gun battle. They came to them. They couldn't get the number of vehicles. There were a lot of Lexus vehicles, motorbikes that came in, and then started shooting. And while the policemen tried to, fight back, 2 of them unfortunately lost their lives. And when they were chasing some of them away, they said they ran into 2 hotels. By the time they got there, they realized that they had a lot of vehicles in that hotel, a lot of unregistered motorcycles in the hotel. They've condoned the 2 hotels off, and investigations are ongoing. But just sorry that 2 policemen who are supposed to be protecting lives are dead. Okay. It's painful.
Daily Sun. National Convention, finally, APC agrees on zoning. Buhari will sign electoral bill, says presidency. Well, it looks like it's too late now. If we hadn't intervened in roads and rails, Nigerians would have been trekking from city to city, says Buhari. Southeast reps renew call for state of emergency in insecurity. Makinde picks March 11th for installation of new Olubadan. FG to spend 3.53 trillion naira on infrastructure, human capital development this week. Drug saga court grants NDLEA's request to detain Abakiari, 6 others for 2 weeks. And Igbo float stabilization fund, seek 5 billion naira takeoff. Okay. Who has the...
Igbo.
Yes, Igbo takeoff.
So a steering committee was set up by the Southeast Governors Forum and Ohanes and Igbo in July 2020. According to them, they want to chart a new course for the socio-economic development of Igbo land. So they floated a stabilization fund to help boost infrastructural development in that region. And they registered 2 purpose vehicles, Ali Igbo Investment Company, that's AIC, and Ndi Igbo Development Foundation, NDF. They have incorporated it. And they are talking about raising about 50 billion naira that they are going to be using to fund most of the infrastructural projects in the region. They said about 3.5 billion would be for the AIC and 1.5 billion for NDF. And now they are speaking to Igbo sons and daughters who are well-to-do to support in this stabilization fund so that they can help boost infrastructure in that place.
Great.
Yes. So, the president said that, thank God for his administration and the fact that they have put a lot of resources towards construction of good roads and rails, because if they had not, would have been trekking across destinations in Nigeria.
Because we were trekking
he said
before he came.
Specifically the Lagos-Ibadan road, there's the ease in traffic because the roads are being done, there's the rail, and because of insecurity, this has really helped. And he went ahead to thank China and Chinese investors who came to support, this administration to carry out this project. And he also said that in spite of dwindling resources, his administration will focus on making sure that infrastructure is, very important. It's very important for our country at this time. Okay. My thoughts was that, when they say we would have been trekking, I thought, if it was like the very first administration of Nigeria, and we had just moved from colonialism to, I can understand we were on camels, on donkeys, but there were roads and there were, things that had falling apart, yes, but not that we would have been trekking. Things have just become better.
But the truth is that, listen, we all have very short memories.
Yes.
Remember how that Lagos-Ibadan expressway was
very
narrow
yes.
compared to that. So there's a possibility that you will not have enough space for buses to go, and you will trek.
So I think it was, I think that it was, we should stick to factual, because right now, because of the huge exaggeration of trekking, he's now making it water down the impact of the good work they have done.
I remember that road.
The burial ceremony, many people came to Ibadan through the train. Yes. I went via road, and it was a smooth journey up until Ibadan. And I'm praying they finish the one from Ogbomoso, the Oyo Ogbomoso road, because that would also ease up traffic a lot.
Can we get to a point where we have a president who will not blow their trumpets.
No, they must
No,
blow.
they must blow.
No, you must say.
As a president, please blow your trumpet.
That's the problem we have in DC. Let me tell you why.
Blow your trumpet.
We don't see what they're doing. They don't say it. I mean, sometimes when you sit down with Buharists, and they're telling you some of the achievements that they got.
Yeah, what is it the same thing?
In the same country.
Yeah.
We don't see it because they're not
good
talking.
to talk about it.
The Minister of
But be
Information,
factual.
we only hear about Twitter. So tell us what, I mean, on a
Other
weekly
things,
basis, we should be
yeah.
hearing what you're doing.
Factual.
Talk to us, engage us. You don't engage us, just wake up tomorrow and say, what's become.
Then don't exaggerate if you have to.
Exactly.
don't exaggerate.
Anyway,
Let's
let's just
take the
move on to
story of
what's
the House of Representatives are calling on this National Security Advisor, the Inspector General of Police, Head of Department of State Security, the Army, the Navy, every form of security agency to protect the citizens of Anambra State.
Oh.
So they're saying that there's high insecurity level going on within Anambra State, into Imo. There is random shooting. Honorable Chris Azubogu feels that it is carried out by non-state actors that are just causing crisis within the state, and it is reducing economic activities within the state. So they are appealing that let there be a state of emergency to deal precisely with the issues within, especially in Anambra State, a little into Imo, guiding the borders, and I think it is something that should be looked into because every day there's a news of one person being shot dead within that state.
Okay, moving on very quickly to Vanguard. 2023 APC ups for consensus zones presidency to South. 10 killed as cultists clash in Osun. Many feared dead as security operatives gunmen clash in Anambra. Our intervention stop you from trekking. We just talked about that. Ogun people will determine Abiodu's second term, not Lukman's sponsors. It's APC. 2023, Kwakonso, Dalong, Galadima, others birth third force. Reps, Senate and Reps lay constitutional review report today on Thursday. Bad fuel reps grew suppliers. ASU strike ends soon, says federal government. And drug trafficking NDLA secures order to detain Abakari and 6 others. Nobody took Abakari's story.
I did. Okay. So the Justice Abubakar, she has given the order to NDLA that they can keep Abakari and his co-conspirators and traffickers, alleged, I guess, 14. They can keep them in detention for 14 days. And she says after the expiration of the 14 days, they can, the detention order, seek an extension, file a charge against the suspects or arraign them before the court. The NDLA asked for this 14 days extra because they said the investigation would take some time as there are complicated dimensions of the case that require follow-up, and that this will extend to likely to foreign countries because there are some people linked to these transnational drug trafficking activities outside our country. So because of that, it's best to keep them in detention for this period of time.
So the federal government is assuring us that the ASU strike will soon be called off. They said they were taken aback with the strike because they were still in the process of negotiation, and the Sultan of Sokoto led this organization, NIREC, and they were still talking about it with a lot of prominent people that the minister said he traveled to Botswana, and by the time he got back, in his mind, he felt that everything would have been sorted out, but when he got back, he just hit that the strike was ongoing. ASU, on the other hand, is saying that the suspension of the strike would depend on readiness to meet its demand, especially what they highlighted today was adoption of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution UTAS for their payments. So if that is not done, unfortunately, the strike may just continue.
Final paper, Nigerian Tribune. Let's find the story we've not taken. I think we've taken most of the stories. Constitutional Review Senate to vote Tuesday. Reps on Wednesday. Let's see. Nigeria to sign $3.3 billion loan agreement for 10 projects, says Finance Minister. Lekan Balogun to be installed as Olubad on March 11th. Government sets police station on fire, killed 2 policemen in Imo. The Izani's $450 million bribe, ex-minister Ochekwe with 2 others bag 6-year jail term each. Okay.
So congratulations to the people of Ibadan. On the 11th, they will be having a new, they'll be installing Lekan Balogun, who is going to be the next Olubado of Ibadan. The date has been confirmed. And also, there was a sad story of something that happened in Osogbo, just taking the 2 stories quickly. 10 people died. It was a cultist attack. The police report is saying only 5 died. But eyewitness is saying that cultists, in a rival attack, about 10 people got killed mainly cultists within themselves. And this attack was based on territorial crisis. Everybody trying to determine which is their zone and passing their boundaries. The people within Ilesha, this happened in Ilesha, down to Osogbo, spread to Buri. Many of the cultists started taking things into their hands to defend their territory around the community. But we'll just keep appealing to the police to whatever the government can do to support the police so that the police can be effective in securing. There are so many things happening in every state. Everywhere you go to, there's something going wrong. So we cannot declare state of emergency in the entire country, but we can empower the police so that they can do their jobs to the best of their ability beyond what is going on right now.
Okay, that's all we can take on front page review. When we return, we go through the front pages of the paper. We go to our hot topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So our hot topic today is about an update on the arrest of Abba Kyari. Nigerians are reacting to the claims made by the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police's lawyer, saying that he's hypertensive and diabetic. Now, many are asking, why is it now that we're hearing about these illnesses? Why is it that the moment our public officials are faced with litigations, the next thing you hear is one ailment or the other? We've seen it with so many others. We have Mina, at some point he fled. There was Olisametu. Remember him?
Yes, yes.
Ayofayoshe too, with neck braces. And we're thinking, what is all this about?
One day.
Not even aside from what the act, the fact that the lawyers use all these technical jargons to delay justice. What are your thoughts on this? Are we doing ourselves?
Yeah.
You can call us on 081-270-53687, 091-3907-6948. You can also tweet us at TVC, hashtag your TVC, and let us hear your tweets. Now, there are two sides. A lawyer has I'm looking for the right word. His job is to ensure, to defend his client, right? And he can actually protect his client based on the fact that the man has a right to seek medical help if indeed he's sick. But the problem is that we never hear of these things until they are faced with some kind of litigation. Stress. In your view, do you feel these are genuine requests by the lawyers, or is just a way to avoid justice to be served?
Mariah, everybody in this country has either hypertension, diabetes. You must have something that is worrying you. The only difference is if you are put under stress, it now shows. If I were a judge, those are mere excuses. And that's why we say that our correctional facilities need to be equipped so that even if it's the diabetes you have, or the high blood pressure that almost everybody is taking drugs, especially in Lagos, you will be in that correctional center and they will attend to you. Simple.
You're finished.
If you commit a crime and you are caught, you will face the consequences of that crime. If you are sick in the process, does not mean you will not face that consequences. We will take you to where you are supposed to be chained or held, bound, or whatever it is, and you will be treated. It's as simple as that. We'll get you professionals. The government is supposed to be doing this. So you see, when we watch all these American movies and you see somebody high-profile person who is sick and everything, they bring in doctors into the prison to attend to them. So it is not an excuse for us to take justice away because of. You knew you had the diabetes when you were committing the crime. You knew you had the high blood pressure. It didn't slow you down
from committing the crime.
Now it's time for consequences, and you want us to consider that. I think they should stop playing with us in this country. It's annoying. If I were a judge, they're going to hear them.
Okay, so My perspective of this is the job of a lawyer is to find loopholes for his clients.
Yeah. True.
And every law has loopholes. And then when I find that loophole, I glide my client through the loophole and help my client escape the toughest judgment possible.
Yeah.
That's why lawyers get paid
Can I
so
pause
well.
you for a quick second? There's something called social responsibility.
I'm going there.
So, as a lawyer, it's your job. Don't you have that thin line between your job and what is socially responsible for you to do?
Lawyers worldwide are technically called lawyers and liars because their job involves them not to, it's not about social responsibility. Lawyers are meant to defend even the worst criminals.
Yes.
You know, and their job is to say, where in this law, even when I know my client killed somebody, where in this law can I put it under manslaughter, second degree? How can I find the softest landing for my clients? So that's the job of the lawyer. The job of a government is to ensure that if a lawyer is found guilty of bending the rules or conniving with doctors, the lawyer loses his license and faces the highest level of punishment possible. Because if you leave things to chance, the lawyer will take advantage of every opportunity to rescue his client because he's well paid. I don't have any problem with you using the law to protect your client. I have a problem with you conniving. What we've seen is lawyers connive with doctors to arrange doctored papers claiming sicknesses that do not exist in order for their own clients to experience less care. When they go to hospitals, they have less security apparatus. They are sitting on a comfortable bed in the hospital. So the hospital is better than prison. So most of our politicians would rather be in the hospital with a security person looking after them, and their children can come and visit them at any time than being in the prison where they have to be locked up. So it is a more convenient space, and all the lawyers are using this system. So our system knows this is the line of action. What is our system doing to ensure they don't fall through that crack?
Let me come to you on that question, which is important. So many of these high-profile cases, we see this entire thing play out exactly the same way. So shouldn't the police at this time, or even the prosecutors, have an airtight case? No, I know the next thing you're going to do now is to tell the face come in a wheelchair. Shouldn't they prepare and know that, okay, we've played this out before, this is how it's going to go?
That's exactly where I was going as they were talking. I'm like, you can find all the loopholes and you can try all the tricks, but then you come and meet a seasoned professional prosecutor waiting for you because they understand all the tricks in the books. And they understand that, and that's why many times we would hear cases that we would read about in the papers and we are jubilating. EFCC has got this person, NDLA has got airtight in our own opinion. Then we now hear one word was not used and one thing was not used and it has been thrown out. So we need to start employing people who are trained, who are experienced, who are professionals. Also, maybe pay some of the people on the other side to work with your lawyers for a bit, to give them that sort of training. Let them go to school. Every time you come to, you have a case like that, when you lose a case on the government side, what is the work that they do, you know, to come back when you go on appeal? It's just irritating that every time all of us can see a case, clear cut, this person is going. He should be gone, but then we hear that the case has been thrown out. And then they leave the person, maybe they'll say, okay, it's been adjourned for many years. So that's another thing with the courts. When you adjourn a case for so many years, somebody that is a criminal that should not even be walking the street. So I'm happy even for these 14 days that they've extended and insisting that they stay in detention. Because for me, I think about Kerry is a flight risk. He may not be flying to America because he knows they're looking for him there, but he'll be going somewhere else. So it's important that we have trained professionals that defend our country.
There's this thing the ladies of your view have always said, we the people. So we are also complicit in this because there's a doctor right there. A doctor who complains of Nigerian corruption, who complains that they want to go on strike because the government is not paying him. A doctor who is complaining that he's about to leave Nigeria to go abroad because he's not getting the greener pastures in Nigeria. That same doctor is doctoring this the report, medical report, saying, like, we're not saying that's what's happening here. We're just saying in many cases, these same doctors who are Nigerians complaining of corruption are the same doctors writing fake medical reports, conniving with lawyers. Lawyers who are also complaining of corruption in Nigeria, who also complaining that we have bad roads, complaining that the politicians are the same lawyers defending criminals. So are we not all complicit in this mess?
We are. You know the thing, when you are in, unfortunately, most of us are in a survival mode. And when you're in that mode, there's a lot of viciousness. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of hunger. You want to eat. You want to, as you are eating, you want to press another person down so that the person does not rise. You don't want another person's success so that they don't forget you. That circle It's vicious. And that's where most of us are in. And that's why we cannot put the country's interest above our own. That medical doctor who is complaining the government is not paying and everything, when he sees money put in front of him, can you help us doctor this report? And then he will think of, aha, this money now we equip my children's children. And then he goes that way because we're still at that level of survival. And everything boils down to giving us the basic needs. When the society at large, the average Nigerian will not think of those little things that would make life easy for them when it comes very easily. You see that a lot of people will align with putting another person or putting the country's interest first, because you know that if I die today, my children are taken care of. If this one happens to me today, everybody will be okay around me. So why do I want to amass and hide that? So you see, the problem is heavy. I don't know where I want to start.
Let's go on the quick.
We're not going anywhere. We're here.
Come back. We'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We are still discussing this Abba Kyari matter, where his lawyer is saying that he has diabetes. And we're saying, almost everybody in Nigeria has all kind of diabetes or hypertension. And I know we BP drug, but what are your, you have some comments here.
So for me, I feel like human nature we have good and evil, and society has nurtured the evil so much, because we say the evil you give, it will grow the evil within us. Our society has nurtured so much evil, and that's why the doctor would resort to anything to settle his own family as well. Yeah. But I think that what prevents society, people from going into doing serious, vicious, evil things is that there is serious justice. And the moment you commit crime, the way the system hits you, not that you would, 3 people would siphon 450 million and share it, and then they'll say they should pay 2 million naira and escape. Those kind of punishments is not a deterrent
at all.
When you want to deal with corruption, you use a strong enough deterrent that the thought of the suffering that would happen will keep the evil-minded people.
China was cleaning them in the bed
from doing what they want to do. So you know that doctors might doctor a document, and you know lawyers will find loopholes to escape their clients and might fraudulently create this system. Then you would create a system that, as much, no matter the money you pay the lawyer will be like, what I'm losing is greater than this.
License and
the doctor will feel like what I'm losing is greater than this. So the punishment needs to be strong enough to be a deterrent. If not, we'll continue to have these things happen.
Let me take Yakub, then we'll take a few more comments and we're done. Yakub, are you there? Hello, Yakub, you're live. Good morning, Yakub, you're there. Let's take a few comments on social media that we run up. Yakub, are you there?
You just mentioned.
Okay, so we have to wrap up. Any other final comment on this?
Yeah. Okay, so I have Olabamidele, who says, we're beginning to see that we're the enemies of ourselves. Without justice, there will be no peace. Someone here said that when he used to commit crimes in the UK, he had the police, go with him to the hospital back and forth. So, I think we have spoken about many times how we do things here. We need to improve on our training. We need to improve on our exposure. I know that the government always does this, where they send some of our officials to travel abroad for a specified number of time to just sort of shadow some of these agencies. So they see how they do it, how they get information, and they come back. But we've heard, of course, as Nigerians, when they go there, they spend most of their time at the malls doing, God knows what. They come back and they have nothing to report. So this doing for ourselves is something that is really ingrained in us. We do it for every little thing in every single sector, even our little tiny jobs. Right. You find somebody, you say, where you work is where you eat, which does not mean do your best to make sure that this business does so well so that you get paid better. But it means take out of the business, steal from the business. Even this Abba Kyari conversation we're having is about the where you eat is where you work is where you shop.
Let me take this comment. It says, when someone finds an ailment which he or she doesn't suffer from, he or she will surely have to contend with that ailment sooner or later.
that's causing.
The lawyers are the issue here. They teach or coach people these ungodly lies. God bless the soul of notable legal icons like your dad and Gani Fayemi. Let me take this call. Yakub. Good morning, Yakub. Are you there?
I'm there. Where are you?
You're live. Go ahead, please.
You can hear me, please.
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Go ahead. What happened to Yakub?
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Morayo, you see, Morayo, why this thing continues keeping repeating itself is this. The fire of this world, even the former aviation minister, the Fani Kayode of this world, and then let me just mention two, out of all. They play this card, and then they get away with it. Yeah. That is why this thing will continue keeping repeating itself. I didn't mean that those lawyers and the doctor that collide together form the fake report. I didn't mean they seize their license and then they send them where they belong to. I don't know if you quickly say this, Morayo. You see, some of the lawyers, they lack the morality. Your father, the Akabashoro of this world, you will never defend this kind of person. The former Gani Fayemi of this world, they will never defend of this. And then the little legend, I forgot his name quickly. But what I'm saying in essence is that how could I believe this kind of a thing happen? How will even commit the offense in Saudi Arabia or in China? They will never have access and they will never have opportunity to tell us this. If you commit this kind of offense in Saudi and then you commit this kind of offense in China, you know where you are going.
In China.
You see, in Nigeria, there's a lot of the
Thank you very much, Ibaku. We have to wrap up now. Just quickly.
Emmy France Collins in Twitter said, but he was not hypertensive or diabetic when he was enjoying the funds from hard drugs and other criminal activities. Maria Roberts says, Nigeria, my country, he suddenly sick. May God grant him quick recovery to face justice. And that's because I'm a humanitarian. I would have commented otherwise. Fatima Waziri says, they are evil people, always reporting, The man says the court should allow him take his medication in his cells.
Yep.
Now I get it. He's caught with, culpable with drugs, and then he's having hypertension and diabetes. Let him face justice. And most people are commenting the fact that you are sick doesn't mean you cannot face justice. So I think that this excuse should no longer be allowed to keep you away from
anymore. Okay, that's all we can take on this segment. But I think we're not assuming and we're not alleging that this man is guilty of the charges. We're just saying that it's a normal card that's been played. All politicians, he might indeed be sick, and his illness may not allow him to face the wrath of the law. But the point is, why do we get to know about these illnesses and ailments when they are facing litigation? That's the issue. So we're not in any way saying that Abba Kyari is guilty. But that's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, move on to another segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So recently, the Lagos State Polytechnic and Adeniro Ogunseyo College of Education were upgraded to universities. And we have the Special Advisor on Education, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, to tell us why. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. So recently, the National Universities Commission recognized and gave you the letter of recognition of these two universities.
Gave the governor.
Gave the governor. The letters of recognition for these two universities. It says Lagos State Government, let me see, the Lagos State University of Science and Tech,
yes,
and University of Education. Yes. Now, why these two specific universities?
Now, let me make a correction. We have three institutions that have become two. The Adeniro Ogunseyo College of Education at Ijaniki and the Michael Otodala College of Primary Education at Noforija Ekwe merged and transmitted to be in Lagos State University of Education.
Okay.
To award degrees in education, strictly specialized.
Really?
I love that.
Now, for the other leg of it, Lagos State Polytechnic, Ikorodu, will now be known as Lagos State University of Science and Technology. Okay. So those are the two new universities.
Let's start with the University of Education.
Yes.
Why was there a need to have a University of Education? Especially because there are other degrees out there. Like, I mean, why University of Education particularly?
I'll give this answer with data and facts.
Okay.
The past few years, the need for NCE graduates had declined drastically. Now, we as a state, we've been recruiting teachers by this governor for the past 2.5 years, over 8,000 teachers. How many of them have we recruited with NCE certificates? So the minimum you have to do is B.Ed. If you have no foundation in education, you have to go and have a postgraduate in education that will have a link or a nexus to education. So we have specialized teachers teaching our kids now in Lagos State. Fantastic. And we can speak to the result in the past 1 year, from 37% to 79% in WAEC. It's unprecedented leap. This year's WAEC.
Yeah.
So, and I thank the governor and the Commissioner for Education for focusing on that. Now, let me come to what we have on ground. We have UTME that tells you the best of the applicants will go to the universities. The second best will go to the polytechnic. The worst of them will now have to just look for colleges of education, and they want to be teachers. Secondly, we have a subvention for the 2 colleges before now. Annually, it goes to 5.5 billion. And the student population combined is less than 4,500. So the numbers are there. So what do we have to do? By the way, from the academic brief, they have 126 PhD holders combined in the 2. And then also with 86 PhD holders. Not for that, with 35. So they can start off as a university.
They have qualified hands.
Qualified hands. The academic brief has shown that. And then you have them now going to JAM. JAM said, okay, good. What you have to do is give us your academic brief as you submitted to NUC. We've done that. And last week, we were mandated to place the advert for the start-off programs. And the 2 colleges that are now University of Education will start off with 65 programs, 65 from 2022-23 academic session. JAM listed us this weekend.
Wow.
And if you go to the JAM portal now, after Ladu Kakitola, you see Lagos State University of Education, then you see Lagos State University of Science and Tech, then you now see LASU, our own professional university. Fourthly, you have LASU. It's been there for almost 40 years. Conventional university with limited carrying capacity. JAM is doing their own admission now. I'll give you 4 examples. For you to study law in LASU, there are just 180 slots. 180 slots. They have over 1,000 applicants. Now, from the 180 for admission, what happens to the remnants? They go back home and try their luck. For medicine, they have just 100 slots to admit. Over 1,000 applicants. Out of the 100, 10 slots will go to direct entry applicants.
Okay.
For dentistry, they have just 10 slots.
What?
Yes. And then for nursing, 30.
So obviously, we're leaving a lot of our children behind.
That is it, with a population of 22 million or more. When LASU was established, we had about 6.7 million people in Lagos. Now we have 22 million. We have a limited carrying capacity for the university. And then we have institutions that are not doing so well because of the needs of this time, this day, and we have said to ourselves, what do we have to do? Let us use data to upgrade them, and we've done that.
When we look at this University of Education, that a lot of times when we hear of institutions that have been upgraded, many times they come with inadequate, either the lecturers are not properly qualified, infrastructure is inadequate. What does this university now have on ground concerning qualified lecturers and infrastructure?
I gave you the numbers, 126 to start, 126. I've not mentioned the management at that level. Lecturers, 126, far more than enough. 65 programs to start. And we are also very deliberate, according to the governor. Let it be very clear. We could have started with our year 2 director. We said, no, let us grow organically from the foundation. Let it be very strong. So now, with 126, by next week, we're going to have in place active management structure. So they can start interfacing, depending when we adopt the best from anywhere in the world to manage these 2 institutions for us. Because clearly, my principal, the governor, have made it clear, we must build a very strong foundation.
Okay, so I'm also talking about lecture halls. I'm talking
They are
about
all in place.
Facilities.
What we also want to do is add more to what they have on ground. Because as they grow, don't forget, this existing structure will still be in place to graduate the last students that was admitted last year, or even this year.
Oh, so they won't be upgraded to the students that were admitted.
You can't.
finish their program.
You know why? It's like a contract.
Okay.
When you come in, you sign a contract, and there was a different regulator then. For the colleges, they used to be under the National Council for College of Education, NCCE. Now they are under NUC. So the NCCE will regulate them depending when they graduate the last students.
Okay.
So even
it's
the
2022-2023 session that was starting.
Yes, but they won't admit for the 2022-2023 session. They will not admit as colleges of education. They will admit as a university of education.
That's it.
Okay, so we're spending a lot of time on the education because it's a major worry, and it's something that if we get right, it would influence every other area of our development as a state. Tying it down to incentives, what are the incentives the government is putting to get people to go into these college of education? Because many people know that jobs would fall. This is where the jobs flow through. So what is the incentive Lagos State is giving to ensure that people will be eager to apply to your newly established University of Education? Maybe there'll be a job.
Let me even add to that, because one of the problems we're having in government is that the teachers, we don't have enough teachers. There are certain subjects that we don't have. Nobody wants to teach Yoruba. Nobody wants to teach science and tech. We have math, English teachers. We don't have certain subjects. So how do you give them incentives to actually accept this?
Very good. What we put in place is this. The programs we are starting with are programs that are need-basis. And that's why the commissioner is going to be involved in the curriculum drawing up. So, based on our needs at the states, the 65 programs we're starting with are the ones that are very critical for us as a state in that education ecosystem.
Okay.
Now, don't forget we have 18,000 plus private schools that we know. In total, we have over 40,000 private schools in this state.
Will you be compelling them to employ your graduates?
No, we don't have to compel them. They will compel them by the system. The system will compel them because of the quality.
People.
Because of the quality that we are going to shun out in the next few years. So they become the fulcrum of the market that we're looking at.
Yes, so I understand that specialization it's very good when we want to focus on a particular aspect. And the first question I want to ask is, how do you convince other people? Because every other university has the Department of Education. That's this one now that is strictly for education is better for you. 1. 2, most people don't want to teach because they see teachers and they don't want to be like them. In terms of money, in terms of affluence, there was a time people wished their children to be teachers because teachers were respected. How do you intend to convince these young ones to go to school and read education that their lives will be better than what they see now?
Thank you. I'll speak for this governor, this commissioner, and my office as Education Ministry. We have changed that narrative as a state. Today, we are awarding teachers, we're giving them vehicles for doing so well across the states to motivate them. Those are the ones in the system. We're also setting up a process that we can help retrain those teachers in that same system. Now, we're not going to the foundation of it. What that foundation is, where we feed them from, the feeding process, that's the university. So from that foundation, we say to you, you have a path to your growth.
To grow.
You can get employment either with the state, because we are recruiting teachers every second. There's a standard ESCO memo that says once teachers leave, you replace. You don't have to come back to us in next school. So there's a market for you. And you see, let us also call a spade a spade. It goes back to the values we espouse as a people.
Right.
The values that drives and put money ahead of every other thing will not grow a society. Your values must go back to your foundation. I've seen teachers. I've seen very good teachers. Yes, I'm not supposed to be a teacher, but I'm very proud of those that are teachers.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, we're talking quite a bit on the University of Education, but there's also University of Science and Tech. What data do you have that informed the decision to have that science and tech?
Okay, thank you very much, Morayo. HND graduates. I'll give you a practical example. You apply to come into civil service in Lagos State. You apply with your peers that came in from your university. Your cap is level 14. You can't exceed level 14 except you do a conversion program. In a place like LASU, you spend 2 years, 6 semesters to do a conversion. And once you do your conversion, you can now exceed level 14 to get to the peak, maybe 17, and maybe a PAMSEC. That is outright discrimination. Now, we also say to ourselves, we can't be a 21st century economy as encapsulated in the governor's agenda for the state, team's agenda, and you can't drive a process for change that will be in sync with what is driving for the future of Lagos. The government has made it clear, oh, I want to have a rail project that will run from Marina, Blue Line, to Okoko, for instance, and a red line that will run from Oyinbo to Alagbado. We need hands that will handle those techie things. And this is going to come in handy for us.
Okay.
And it's data-driven.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to ask this question again for this particular university because it's important. Facilities, infrastructure. We're talking science here.
Yes.
We know in the universities they have labs. With this university, you know, the story of Nigeria, we get mushroom universities, small buildings, you cram people inside. Is that the same with this one, or this a bit better?
None of the two. Don't forget, they were about the best in their own categories. Lagos State Poly that became a University of Science and Tech was second best in the country. So the same personnel are still there. So what we are doing is ramping up infrastructure for them. Sitting on over 300 hectares of land in Ikorodu, and they have a campus at Isolo and one at Surulere. And they have the best of infrastructure, human capital infrastructure. 60 PhD holders to start 33 programs to start with. So now for the second one, 126 PhD holders to start 65 programs.
Putting it in perspective, some of the private universities that people are going to don't have this number of PhD holders in their university.
These lecturers go to lecture in those universities.
Yes.
Good.
And then they have enough space for expansion. For the University of Education, combined, they have over 100 hectares of land they are sitting on. Combined.
Good.
And what we are doing is, the government made it very clear, their infrastructure will meet any of the best in the world.
But there's something you said. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So, you know, she mentioned PhD. I'm saying it's not by PhD. Because what we realized is that a lot of people who have studied in the past find it difficult to unlearn and relearn. They have this mindset and that ego that I am a PhD holder from Obafemi or wherever university, and they are not taking in. So science and technology is constantly evolving. What are the measures you're putting in place that those people are constantly evolving to be at par with world best standards? Because technology is the way forward.
For the future.
Yeah. So are we just going to leave them because they're PhD and then? So what's the plan?
You see, part of the demands they made of the states when we had a meeting with the unions, the staff, and the management was, please, continuous human capital development. I would say it's part of the deal. Now they're going to reclassify them, don't forget, they're going to designate them. The peak for you as a university lecturer, or no, as a poly lecturer is chief lecturer. Now you have to be designated to fit into that university nomenclature. Associate professor or a professor. So we move forward from that point. But the retraining must be ongoing. And that is what makes you adaptable as a human being.
I know there's a huge educational burden, and even across the country. But you said earlier that, for example, last year gets about over 1,000 applications, right?
Yes.
And only about 100 and something slots
for a program.
For a program. Yes. The point is that what is the government therefore doing? What happens to the
capacity.
remaining? Because we have a lot of youth universities, but it's still not enough. So if you don't get in, what happens to you?
Well, Governor Baji Olusola Sanwo-Olu's mandate was very clear when he was running up the team's agenda. We must open up the educational space, ecosystem, to allow for access, to allow for quality of knowledge impacting. And that's what we have to do by doing this. LASU had a limited carrying capacity.
So now we have options.
Now we have two other universities to complement LASU.
Yes.
And luckily for us, they are specialized universities. For education, wow. For science and tech, excellent. So we have the space opened up now for Lagosians to give them more options. And luckily for us also, before now, we've done a comparative study of all the southwest states in the country, and we know how much they charge for their state institutions. So the fee would be very reasonable from the start.
Do we have time? Yes. Research is what is lacking in most of our universities. We have lecturers who have written 10 papers up and down, lying down on the shelves dry, nothing is happening, no inventions. What is Lagos State planning to do, especially with these two critical aspects of education, to ensure that research is done consistently and the results of the research is used to solve practical problems? Is there any plan like that?
Now, that is for the governing council and the senate of the school to drive. That's why those that will populate the governing council are people that share the same great vision with the governor of the state. Because it's going to be governor sitting in council. And then the senate. Senate is just the vice chancellor, the DVC, deans, HODs, and the lecturers. So they will drive a template that we are going to help them fund. And we also, don't forget, we have the Education Trust Fund in Lagos State under my purview. And then we have TED Fund at the federal level, deductions from corporates to fund universities.
Research.
Now, yes, research, especially. Now, let me add this. TED Fund are recognized to these two universities. So funding for research, funding for infrastructure will come. But we are not going to rely on that at the state. We are driving the process. The governor has made it very clear. He told them at NUC, he told them at JAM, he told them at TED Fund, these babies will grow and they'll be growing on a very strong foundation.
Let me go back to the issue of ecosystem, because I think BC or somebody asked it earlier, but I want you to answer it again in a different way. One of the problems Nigerians have is that, okay, now you've opened up the space of education and we have options. But when they finally graduate, what happens then? Because I read recently in the papers where they're saying that Nigeria is like the new baby for technology development. Like lots of international companies are coming to Nigeria, especially among other African countries, to get us our technically savvy youngsters. So these are people that when they graduate with science, university degree in science and technology, how therefore do we utilize them? Yes, you said the trains, but which other of the system can they be absorbed into to ensure that there's a job waiting for them?
You see, let me say this. In a normal system, government should not be employer of labor. In a normal system, government should just create the enabling environment for private sector to uptake them. But as a state, we're not going to just do that. I was here some weeks back, and I said, the governor has a program called the Job Initiative Lagos, where we go to the universities, penultimate and final year students, train them and retrain them on how to apply themselves, how to be entrepreneurs, give them access to our Lagos State Employment Trust Fund to see if they could be entrepreneurs on their own. And if they can't be, they can always take them to the education system for those that go this way. The rest of it. And for those that go to science and tech way, I believe there's a job waiting for them. Let me give you a critical example of the story I heard. When they were to construct the Lekki-Ikoyi Bridge, the bridge was there for about 6 to 9 months because there were shortages of underwater welders. And the governor then, Governor Banji Shafasholai said, no, you won't bring from anywhere in the world. Let us train local hands. And it delayed the bridge construction by Julius Berger for 6 to 9 months. They trained them to be underwater welders. Today, the bridge is constructed, but they are earning something in the region of over 2-3 million a month.
Wow. From the skill they acquired.
From the skill they acquired. That's what I call developing human capital. And this governor, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, has made it very clear. Human capital development is very key and a priority for him. As I talked about 21st century Lagos. You can only have a 21st century Lagos when you have the skill set and the people that are ready for it, both in health and both in education.
All right.
And it's from our primary to secondary and now our tertiary.
That is all we can take. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Updates on that. It was an important conversation to have because Nigerians and Lagosians must know the options now available for them.
We have 3 options.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to the governor and thanks for having me.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, move on to another topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we have a specialist agriculture, agriculturist, Mr. Omotunde Banjoko, to discuss how the nation can address the rising cost in the prices of food items. Welcome, sir, to the show.
Good morning, Maura. Good morning, everyone.
So we know you're a farmer,
yeah.
and obviously you produce quite a few produce. Now, costs of food obviously has increased, and many have said it's because of transportation, of the factors. In your view, what do you think has caused this increase in prices for food?
Transportation is just one of it, probably even the least of it. We are suffering from what we have neglected over the years that we didn't pay attention to, and a lot of things we can lay claim to. One is, transportation is one, but that's even more recent, that transportation is really biting out on us.
Yeah.
But I would want to look at what we agreed as a nation some years back. For example, in 2003, all the presidents in Africa came together, had what they call Maputo Declaration, and said, okay, for us to be able to attain a level where we can feed ourselves as a nation, in 10 years, we'll be doing 10% of our annual budget into agriculture, will grow at 6%, and will be good. But out of that, only about 6 nations follow that principle. Nigeria, for example, we do about 1.3, we do 1.4 out of our budget. And why that is even extremely low, the annoying part or the painful part is even the 1.4 doesn't get to the agriculture space. So that's
1.4% of the budget.
1.4% of the budget. Like 2022, for example, we are doing about 1.8, but even the 1.8, when you look at the breakdown, you are sure the impact is not going to reach anywhere. So, for example, you look at the breakdown. Let me just, if I could give 1 or 2 points. For example, a portion of it is going for street lights, solar street lights, 740 million. You ask yourself, street light, you see, for example, about 620 million going for toilet in market and schools.
And that's agric.
No, it's agric and rural development. So they can sneak under that. But some of those projects are actually repeated projects. So you also look at this. Irrigation, for example, will do, I think, about 2.2 billion for irrigation. But it was not mentioned where the irrigation will be done. So they just irrigation. So I can't query anybody. So if I don't say anything, I can't query anybody. So when you look at what has been our spending pattern into this critical aspect of agriculture, aspect of our lives as a nation, then you can be sure that we are not doing too well. When you also look at the institutions that should be supporting this, most of them have not been active. And they've like the Bank of Agriculture, they've not been active. I want to use that word carefully, but they've not been supporting as we should be seeing the impact. And when you also see most farms shutting down because of fund and the rising cost of operation, and there's no support, that's when you need such organization to say, okay, we have these issues. I can't go to a commercial bank and take 40%, 30% to operate in 12 months. You need structured finance to be able to run agriculture. That's one thing I tell people, because I work with investors, you have to have structured finance. But now we don't have such. The few guys that were able to do that didn't learn the ropes. Most of them got their hands burnt. Some other ones are coming up now, and with consultation, some of them are beginning to learn how to fund agriculture.
So is that someone to, these are obviously observations, and because you're a player, our budget is not enough. We need the Bank of Agriculture to support the operations. Who are you reporting this to? Where do you escalate this to?
Not to escalate. I'm sure if we do a poll now this morning and ask people, what's the name of the Minister of Agriculture? I'm not sure if anybody here can.
The top of our heads now.
I can't remember. I know
But, Mahmoud Abubakar. So that tells you how active they've been.
The person is.
So do you?
Because we don't have neighbors.
So where do you report them to? Who do you report them to?
Wow.
That's what.
No, but I think that there should be. We can always report. You know what I was saying? We can always report because I heard at the burial of former governor of Oyo State, the governor saying that he wrote letters to him.
Okay.
Like the former governor wrote letters when he saw there were issues going on to advise the governor on what he should do. They might not respond to it, but you write those letters and you send it to the ministry. I feel strongly that the agricultural sector is very, very wide. Yeah. There are many places. We want to talk to you specifically about the rising cost of food and how we can bring it down. That's why I interrogated you small before the show time. Because I want to understand, you do cassava, but you're not selling your cassava to regular open market. You're selling your cassava to where the money, where the money is sure and it will come out. How do we create, how do our governments, because every cassava person I know, they don't sell to Gari people. So Gari is still being produced largely by subsistence farming. The people that are doing massive, they sell to companies for starch, for flour, and those things. And so Gari will remain expensive, even though cassava production is increasing. How can the government intervene to say, I want our country consumes Gari?
This volume.
How do we get Gari affordable, as opposed to you selling to...
Okay, let me use the Gari analogy, for example. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world. We are doing about 59 metric tons now. And so we should be proud and all that, but we are not. And the issue is we're not even producing enough. Even despite the fact that we are the largest producers, we still have a deficit of about 12 billion tons to be able to meet up. And the deficit we're talking about is even before this morning, because I know I'm part of some other projects of some new factories coming up. So I think where the issue are really, government has been bringing different initiatives. For example, the one people know about the Ankobra project and all that. And when you look at what CBN submitted at the end of 2021, about 1 trillion has gone into that project. But you look at 1 trillion into this project, what effect has it had? When you look at the way it was designed, you can see that there are some areas they could have probably worked with practitioners to design it, not just technocrats or consultants designing the project. You know, there was a day in Abeokuta with the commissioner and we were having a conversation on it, and I told her, I said, when you look at the way these things are being done and the return you are giving to an individual for participating in this project, no young man will do this. No young man, because the program was designed in such a way that, okay, you can only do this size of land, you can do this size of land, this is the estimated return. It's not encouraging. So you have to do it in such a way that, so some of those projects can actually support the growth we are looking at, can bring in more people. Government has the resources. We only need to work with I think I suggest more of a private partnership, kind of private-public partnership.
Yeah. Okay, so, you know, we have heard of government intervention when it comes to rice. And people would, you know, argue that the foreign smuggled rice is better and cheaper than the one that government has put is all, and it's supposed to be local to us. Apart from the cost of production, people have alleged misappropriation of funds with Nigerians themselves. Is that a honest, true, factual problem that we are facing? That is Nigerians themselves sabotaging government interventions?
I think my response to that is really, when you also look at those factors surrounding the production of the rice itself, and you look at how many people have abandoned their farms, large-scale farms, because they can't produce in that location anymore. Now some of us even engage security personnel before going to farm. You have to call your security guys, I'll be coming tomorrow, is it okay, and all that. You have to do that at your level when you're not a governor. You have to inform people, and you have to plan your movement. And you have to disguise, as it were, before you can operate and produce, because I'm in production primarily. So, because of ransom, you want to pay ransom and all that. So, I think the security aspect also has affected it, beside it, and that has also affected the cost of production. So, and really, when you look at the policy surrounding the imported rice, I still see it myself physically. You still see them bringing it through the border.
Yes, everywhere.
You still see them bringing it through the border. So as long as they are bringing it in, it's going to be difficult for the guys doing it locally. So, but you know, there's a lot of factors. I was in Benin, last month, and some fish from Atlanta was around, and they invited me on my way to the airport that I should just stop by at the farm. Their farm is behind, Uniben Hostel. And it's a crop of farms fish farms, and then you could see the erosion dividing the farm already, cutting them off. So they are producing here.
But they can't get produce
no,
across.
so you have to. And Uniben is building hostel in that same place.
Okay.
And you could see the gully erosion, massive one. So they are being cut off. So now bringing those products out is going to be difficult for some of them.
Yeah.
So those are some of the, like Mariah said, transportation, but you are now producing again to bring them out. It's also another issue that people are struggling with. And then when you also look at closely to that I feel pain about, we look at the statistics we have for people that have been displaced by erosion, flood. In 2012, Nigeria statistics gave about 1.3 million displaced, and about 400 deaths, 17 trillion lost. 2019, I'm bringing it closer. 2019, 255,000 displaced, 250 deaths. 2020, 2.3 million people displaced. I'm telling you, these are Nigerian statistics, 2.3 million displaced and about 59 deaths. So as long as we have people, and we had flood in about 27 states last year. 27 states. So as long as people are being displaced from their farms, and these are largely farming communities. So as long as people are leaving the farm,
food produce will go up.
Food produce will still, the price will go up, because we now have very few people producing very
less
little,
food.
And then
So, sir, in layman's terms, people will be watching and be wondering, what is English you are speaking? How can the price of rice or tomatoes or pepper or onion come down so that at least we have that purchasing power? By comparing our salaries to what, like a few days ago, I sat down to draw up a budget. I normally don't work with a budget. I just bounce in and bounce out. When I bounced in and bounced out, the thing hit me.
Did you, was it a full bounce out?
No, it wasn't a full. I had to draw up the budget. I'm like, I'm not even earning enough to fund this lifestyle that I have. So some things has to be adjusted. What do you need as an agriculturist, or what does the agricultural sector need the government to do to ensure that at least we earn something and we're able to feed?
Okay, let me look at one or two areas that I think we can quickly address that as a nation. One is we have a storage capacity of about 1,050,000 metric tons, but we are using about 260 of it.
Right.
Meaning we are not, even when we had enough, we are not storing enough. I drove past the one in Benin some days back. You can see them. They are just abundant. So what we need to start stocking.
Storing food.
We need to start stocking, because when you look at, for example, let me also link that to the data we got for 2020. We've not gotten that of 2021. Our post-harvest losses was valued at 3.5 trillion. Meaning the food we wasted.
Yes.
That we didn't.
How do we avoid the waste?
3.5 trillion. And you know, the waste starts from both the farm, like I just give an example, some people can move their produce out.
So the fish will get
So fish, not only fish, produce generally can't even get from. That's why at times people always bank on when they are traveling on the road, I'll buy on the road.
Okay, let me quickly pause for a second. I'll be right back. Stay with us, be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So I would say this conversation is quite disheartening. And the reason why it's disheartening is because I've been saying proudly that if there's anything that you can say this Buhari government have done is agriculture and infrastructure. Those two things, I know that we are seeing activity. But now you're coming to say, yeah, it's not as I thought.
As glamorous.
So it's not as glamorous as it was. Because
successful.
you know, so these are the issues you're having. And I'd like to maybe ask you again, how do we escalate this to ensure that the government, there's a government part where they help us to ensure the infrastructure, the issues of the gullies, the flood. There's the natural issues, and there's the human issues. We, the people, also, we're all part of this problem. So just like BC has said, how do we therefore ensure all these three various stakeholders do the work they're supposed to do to ensure that food is cheaper?
Okay, so maybe I'll try and cover all areas. One, let the government encourage more people to come into the industry. Okay. They have ways to encourage people to come into the industry. I tell people, I don't want to become farmer. If you ask children, what do you want to become? I'm not sure you get any of them saying, I want to become a farmer. And Nollywood has also not helped us. You rarely see them portray a farmer in any Nollywood from using Range Rover.
Yeah, and there are farmers using Range Rover in this country.
They always portray farmers looking dirty, looking
Carrying
tattered.
holes.
You know, I've been to places and people ask you, are you sure you're a farmer? And I try to just show them some picture when I'm on the farm. But at full time, that's what I do to feed my family. That's what you used to feed your family. I said full time. And you know, once people hear some of the things that God has helped you to achieve, they wonder, are you sure from farming? I said full time. And so one thing is the media can help change the narrative. The government can put structures that can support the system.
Can you give an example of like 2 practical structures?
One, for example, 2022, the government says they are recapitalizing Bank of Agriculture. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a major break. For example, they are also working with the Brazilian government to bring 10,000 tractors in Nigeria to manufacture that with 50,000 equipment. So if they do that, that's going to, because you go to some local government, no equipment
There's
to
no
work.
tractor in the
And
entire
then
local
also when you look at, with our population, we have low yield.
Our seedling.
No, low yield per hectare. Meaning, I plant cassava on 1 hectare, I'm expecting 20 tons, you are getting 8 tons.
Wow.
So, no, for several reasons. People cannot afford fertilizers, people cannot even afford to weed when they need to weed. They can't afford what we call agri-best practice. So, we need to start enlightening people also on that as individuals. We do that. I work with people to do that. You enlighten people. I'm working with other partners now and investors to see how we can bring structured funds into the agri space. Funds that will be for 3 to 5 years and that can support irrigation, because that's also one area that we've been lacking. We can't irrigate most of our farms.
I'm listening to you and I feel that our problems are deep.
No, they are not deep. They are not deep.
So my question now is,
they are not
now
deep.
listening to you, most of the time, as you say, when we talk about agriculture, we really see it as just subsistent sizes.
Yeah.
How many, can you tell me, how many commercial size farms and farmers?
We have a lot. We have a lot.
Oh, okay.
A lot. Sizable farms that you can't work Dangote sugar factory, for example. You can't work it. You have to drive hours.
So we have like in how many?
Sizable farms. Okay. But some of them are specialized.
Okay.
That's another thing. Some of them are probably into sugar cane for sugar.
But so they're not giving food. See the question I asked earlier. Even those that are farming big, they're not farming to feed you. They're not farming to give you
industrial.
They are farming industrial. So we have big farms producing for manufacturing. We don't have people giving us food to eat. So we need food. We need beans. Beans is big. Are you doing beans? How many industrial beans farmers do you have? We don't have beans on the industrial level. We don't have gari on the industrial level for us to consume. We don't have yam on the industrial level for us to consume. Our everyday consumption is being done by small farm holders. And we need to move
but really, if you go to Benue State, for example, that we all know when it comes to yam, beside some industrial work, if we can manage our post-harvest losses,
yes,
we will have enough yam coming into Lagos, going to other parts of the country from the north central.
And they did not get displaced.
Yes. So if we can manage our post-harvest losses, for example, in 2016, I worked on a project on how to preserve plantain. Because you go to a Idioro market, thank God I'm in the midst of, blessed am I, in the midst of women, a lot of plantain wasting away when we have, what are we doing to that?
Can use it for bakery.
No. Even I did a study on it, that we can preserve it for at least 6 months, keep it and all that, but don't let me mention this I worked with on that. I had to stop it when I realized I'm not sure we share the same opinion.
Bringing you back to Tokbe's question, like when I served in Benue, the yams were very expensive for the commoners to buy.
Wow.
They moved out all their yams for I don't know where.
greener pastures.
But for people who are living there, the things were very expensive, and they called it the food basket of nation. At the time, I didn't understand why you'll be producing so much and yet you can barely get enough to eat.
We have to wrap up. So I hear you. So we're all somewhere. Is it fair to say that many of us are just selfish, or we're looking for profit because it's business? That's what it is.
The government needs to incentivize so that people will be incentivized.
You're inviting us to go into farming, but when I enter farming, and I say, oh, the people that are making money are the ones that are selling to your industry.
No. Maybe I should quickly wrap up on that. Really, you can make money on the value chain.
Yes.
On the value chain, not only when you are supplying to industry. You can even produce, process, and supply to, the direct consumers. But as long as we have, it starts with the government, but even individuals, and like I said, we are working with a lot of personal individuals, investors, tech companies to bring in more funds, and the industry is actually good. And challenges also present opportunities. Really.
Yeah, true.
Challenges present opportunities. So now that we've known the problem, what we are doing now is the solution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
It was a
very
pleasure
much.
having you on the show. We'll be speaking to our agriculturist and a farmer. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That is all. Mr. Motunde Banjoko was our guest. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to go break it from the show. We'll come back, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. See you then. Bye for now.
Thank you.